Today we discuss some of the upcoming changes that were shown during last week and go over some of the ramifications of those and even some of the community reactions. This week on the BlastCast, let's get to it. Greetings everyone and welcome to another week of BlastCast. Once again, this is Jarvis and my bastion of common sense, Lightning Dragon, is here with me as always to discuss all the fun changes that have been going on this week. Before we get into all the things that were revealed, I'd like to kind of bring something up. Now, there's been a lot of arguing on the forums. There's been pro, there's been against the changes, and all of that. For starters, before anyone makes a decision, what we need to do is we need to actually get our hands on it and see how it plays. It's all great and stuff to theory craft, but until we actually can get our hands on it and see exactly what they did or get more information, it's really just in a game in development, it's really just kind of jumping the gun to say it's the end of the world or whatever if you don't like it, or it's everything you wanted if you do like it. So how this game development works is that they need different sets of data. Now, since 2.0 came out, which is about a year ago, basically we have had a singular flight model with some minor changes. When I say flight model, I mean how the ships respawn. The flight model at the core of this isn't changing it; they're just changing ship stats or how ships work, how afterburner works, what their top speeds are, whether without afterburner, things like that. But for the most part, we haven't had a lot of changes, and so what they're trying to do is look at how these ships interact with one another, with the changes, how multi-crew ships and single person fighters, and how all this stuff is going to interact with one another without reinventing the wheel, so to speak. They're keeping the flight model. They're just tweaking the ship's stats and the weapons and things to kind of see how things feel. And then from having enough examples, enough data, having tutor statistics myself, the greater sample size you have and information, the better odds are you can create a predictive model to determine what's going to be best. So there's going to be a lot of changes coming up in the next few months because this is kind of crunch time for them. They're getting close to having Squadron 42 released, and they're not going to want to have a separate flight model for Squadron 42 and a separate flight model for Star Citizen. It's not going to be something that is going to be good or healthy for the game. So we're going to see a lot of changes, and when the new patcher comes in, they can do small changes. You may not even have to wait to the next big patch to come out to see all the ship stats change once more. So basically just hold on, wait, report, discuss, don't freak out, wait and see. If they say a change is upcoming, it could be good, it could be bad. We'll just have to get our hands on it to find out. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and get into the meat of it. And one of the first things I do want to discuss before we talk about the flight model changes and what I just spoke about was I noticed something when they were showing the infamous golf swing scanning mechanic, which, by the way, is just a placeholder, as they said, until they come up with a system that they really like. They just wanted to test the overcharge on the system to see
consequence to your actions, something
right.
We haven't had a lot of, at
right.
all.
Right. If you're doing a scan and you overcharge your ping, you can disable your own system. They needed something in place there to test that system. That's all that is. This isn't a finished product. They needed something to work, and the golf swing was probably pretty easy to program, pretty easy to throw in. And so once again, first run on an iteration on something, don't worry about it. They've already stated that that's not probably going to be the final thing by a long shot. They just wanted to get something in there that works. What I noticed when they were showing the golf swing was that it looked like, and I'll go ahead and throw the footage up here, what I'm seeing here in this circle looks like they've actually gone and perhaps created a good virtual stick. See, what we had before has been pretty horrendous. It adjusts and changes with your screen sizes, how many screens you have, your resolution, and it stretches wider and wider the wider your screens are and the more screens you have. It kind of looks like a bow tie when you get out towards the ends. It starts off small in the middle and kind of goes up and flares up to the edges and then comes back down, very much like a bow tie. If they're going with what I'm seeing here, then they may have fixed that problem. And if they've done that, that's a big step to bringing all the controllers in line, everyone using a first order system. So, but the flight model we've seen, as they stated in Reverse the Verse, they're showing us a 2.5 environment with the new flight model. So right now there's nobody testing 2.6. It's not in Evo Cotti's hands or whatnot. It's a 2.5 with a new set of ship data. Now, from what I've seen on this, it looks very interesting to me. I'm interested to see how this flow goes along, and it does remind me a lot more anyway of Wing Commander, which is a good thing in my opinion, because when the game was originally kickstarted, it was supposed to be the spiritual successor to Wing Commander. And you can go back to look at all the trailers and all the ship trailers and things like that, and you see a flight model, which is mostly main-centric, meaning that the main engines of the ships put out the vast majority of the power, and the thrusters put out, let's say, several 80% mains, 20% thrusters. Now, some people are like, that ruins 6 degrees of freedom, but 6 degrees of freedom means that you can move in all 6 directions. It doesn't dictate that that's equal to the main engines. It's just the ability to strafe up, strafe down, strafe left, strafe right, and strafe back, and strafe forward, so to speak. So you have all your angles and directions, but it doesn't dictate that those are all equal. So what they're trying to do is, as you've seen Chris Roberts discuss flight models in the past, he always talks about things like Spitfires, and around the verse he talked about I forgot the name of the game, that's one of his I actually didn't play, so I do apologize, but it was
a jet one.
Yeah, modern day combat one, how he cut the speeds in half because he wanted the combat to be closer, and it worked out really well for that game, and there are things like that. So and having looked at all of his previous games where his games are pretty much main centric, I would get the impression that, and when he said a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, that he had just started playing his own game for the most part because he just finished all the
that was last month, around the beginning of the month or something.
Yeah, he said they finished the shooting, they finished having all the all the actors do their thing and all the reshoots, and now he was sitting down and playing his own game, and changes were coming. And I knew right when he said that we might be looking at something that moves towards main centric because, as I said, look at all of his games. Look at all of his flight games in the past. Even Freelancer, which is by far not my favorite, because it's more arcadey than any of them. But the thing is that they were all main-centric. So it doesn't surprise me, and I don't think it should surprise anyone else, that he would be looking at something like this. See, the thing is that I often feel that people get confused, or at least too literal, about the term simulation. Simulation doesn't mean that it's a real-world simulation. We're not playing Kerbal Space Program, kind of Newtonian physics or whatnot.
And even Kerbal Space Program is in a shrinked system.
Yeah.
You have to have mods to make it so it's Earth size, and it kind of screws with the game a little bit because it's not designed for that. I think it's one quarter scale, I think is what it is.
Yeah, but you see, you can have a Star Wars simulation. It's a game that's simulating what you see in a Star Wars movie, and that is a Star Wars simulation. It is a simulation. When he says that he's looking at having a spiritual successor to Wing Commander as a simulation, and with Newtonian physics thrown in, you're dealing with what he's intending it to be, which is the spiritual successor to Wing Commander, mixed in with physics that fall within also the realms of whatever technology or rationality for that technology that's created in their heads. And that includes the mass of ships and the power of the thrusters and the power of the engines and how fuel works. All this stuff is created out of the mind of the developer. There's no real arguing, for the most part, if a system can or can't exist. It comes down to, does the developer want it to exist, especially if it's 900 years in the future. So if they want it to be main-centric, because that's the way he wants World War II in space, which he's been quoted saying several times, then he's never hidden that. So, but we need to give them time to find that sweet spot. And if this one's too slow, and the other one, as some people feel, the flight speed was too fast and the distances got too far, you might see them increase the basic SCM speeds and change the way Afterburner works again, and that gap might close again a little bit. Plus, you've got to consider in the future that all the ships that we have right now, they're flying as baseline ships. There's no upgrades on them. They're all stock. And while I hate to use the comparison because someone will probably want to hang me for using it, but Elite Dangerous, for example, they start off with an E class everything. You get a ship, it's basically got junk on it.
Yeah, it's crap.
And over time, you get the money, you get do the missions, you put your ship into full A class status or whatever, and it doesn't even handle like the same ship anymore. It is a different animal. Lightning and I can easily attest to that. Any ship that's all E's versus any ship that's all A's, not the same machine. And so in Star Citizen, when we're looking at the speeds that we have on these vehicles, those aren't final speeds. You're going to have the ability to upgrade your engines, your thrusters, your shields, your weapons, your computer
Sensors.
systems. Yeah, your sensors. They talked about how you can fit an Aurora with a mining sensor to go out there and try to scan out mining locations to sell to other people, or to be like a leader in a group to try to find things so the mining ship doesn't have to spend time trying to, like a big mining ship has to search through a dense asteroid field to, you got a little Aurora that's doing it for you. The rules can be changed by the parts that we put in our ships. So the ships are just baseline. And you get a ship because it serves a function that you want. Every ship that I have serves a function. Every ship that Lightning has fills a function that I don't have. And together, we've got pretty much a complete setup with the exception of a carrier. Don't want one, but I don't know if Lightning, do you want a carrier?
I wouldn't want a Bengal carrier, but I mean something that can carry...
Idris?
I don't like the style of the Idris. I know I'm a huge fan.
Something else then.
Of all the Aegis ships. I think they're all amazing. Yeah. But the Idris it doesn't do it for me. I'd rather have Battlestar Galactica. I mean, I like the side-mounted hangars. I mean, like in Virion.
Exactly. Virion Space Engineers, you always put the side hangers
on
there.
I always put them on the side because it makes more sense to me.
That's true. I totally get it. So yeah, but basically we got ships based on rules, and we expect that all these stats are going to change, and especially in these next 3 months now, October, November, December, they want to have Squadron 42 out by the end of the year. This is the 3-month crunch time. They've got their programmers over there working out the bugs. They got them getting graphic stuff all done. This last 3 months
of setting up for CitizenCon.
Right. I had a friend who worked in the gaming industry. He worked on Star Wars Galaxies, and he's worked on several other titles. And the thing is that, in fact, he worked with Wingman and a long time ago, back before he was in CIG. The thing is that during crunch time, these people stay there 12, 14 hours. Some of them stay overnight. They sleep on couches. They don't shower for days. These people are going to be pumping out tons and tons of fixes and new ideas and things just to get things to work. So over the course of the next few months, don't be shocked that if you're going to see, hey, let's try this, hey, let's try this, hey, let's try this. So just keep that in check, because they're just getting data. They've got 3 months to nail out the rest of this flight model, and it's kind of a backwards way of doing it. Because a lot of the games nail down their mechanics first, but they were trying to build a base that does all the systems. Now they got the systems coming into place, and okay, now we got the shield systems, which aren't quite done yet, but they've got the engines and the weapons.
They have all the stats that they think they want.
Yeah.
So they're gonna throw them in the game, and okay, this is what they should be after the remodel. We can at least get an idea of how they're gonna work using this system, this model.
Exactly. So now they've got all that stuff set out. Okay, now they got to go ahead and make sure that incorporates with the flight model. So it's a tricky time for them, and I'm excited. Even if the flight model it's not something that I enjoy, I think I will. But if it's not, I'm fine with that, because they'll get that data, because they'll have that information. They'll say, hey, this didn't work out, and they'll try something different. Okay. But I mean, I've been looking at the forums. It's thread after thread after thread. Some people in particular, I was saying, hey, just wait and see. Just wait and see. Just wait and see. And that was like holding up a cross to a vampire or kryptonite to Superman. They weren't happy about it. But it comes down to it. You just got to wait and see. And
yeah, one of the things, you can watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I watch a lot of YouTube videos, okay, well, how does the game look? How does the game play? What does this person think about it? And there's only so much you can get from a video before you actually have to physically sit down, well, not physically, but, sit down and actually play the game, because, you can only get so much information from a picture or, a video.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get to see all the earliest thought processes at this point in time. We're going to be seeing all the first iterations of pretty much everything at this point in time with 3 months to go. They're going to be throwing all sorts of wacky ideas to make them stick, see what sticks on the wall. And we're going to see golf swings. We're going to see flight models that you may not like. But as I said, just wait and see. It's important. It's so important. The reverse diverse. If you normally don't watch that, I know a lot of people just kind of skip that stuff, and I don't blame you. Sometimes it gets long-winded. Really watch this one. You've really got to.
I watched both Reverse the Verse and Around the Verse,
and I can't get them to watch those normally.
Yeah,
they were fantastic. It was the Reverse the Verse dug into the systems in ways and descriptions that there's no point in me going into fully here because they did it way better than I'm going to. So
and it would just take us, half an hour to explain everything when it'd be just easier just to, click on the show more information and in what was the stupid thing in the YouTube called? It's the
just
the description or whatever, right?
Yeah,
and just go to the link and you can watch Around the Verse.
Now you made me put a link in my description. Thanks a lot.
You have to. Have to. It is too important for people if they're interested in Star Citizen. These are two very important videos that they should watch.
That's true. I do agree with you there. And and so you really, if you skip them, just don't this week. And you are going to be missing out on this is a lot of times people say, oh, there's not enough content on Around the Verse, there's not content Reverse the Verse, and people that want to listen to 10 to 10 for the writers and things like that because that's not their forte. They're not interested in that. But man, if you have any interest in how this game plays, these two were something else. But I guess that's kind of the crux of a lot of what I wanted to say this week. And I know I was thinking it'd be much longer than this, and I'd already set up my rendering program for like an hour because I didn't know. But the thing is that
we're not going to talk for an hour.
Well, no, but I know. But I was just saying, I had a lot on my mind about it. But I think I've kind of said what I wanted to say is that we need to be patient, people. And if you're excited about the flight model, hey, I'm right there with you. And if you're not, well, guess what? I also get it. But at the same time, play it. Try it with different ships. Try it with see how if you're typically a fighter jockey and you've got a bigger ship, try that. And if you want to fight against friends and say, hey, attack me with this, and then see how get a friend to run on a turret. Does the turret work better? Are you able to defend yourself better against smaller ships? I mean, really dig into it, because if you just kind of go, oh, I hate it, and throw your controller at the table and walk away, then that's really not really doing much for the
There
game
is
development.
one more thing we could talk about.
No, go ahead.
It's the controversial thing. Are you ready for it?
Uh-oh.
What they talked about in Around the Verse with Evocati testing.
Part 2. We talked about this last cast a little bit, but it was funny because we had brought it up, and we had discussed that we were kind of worried that Evocati was going to set the pace for things we would see and not see,
which is what a lot of people kind of think because there's no information out there.
Right.
They have their own little server. They talk to themselves. They don't talk to other people.
And we weren't alone in this. There has actually been several posts about this one. Twice on Around the Verse, they talked about how they're going to find out if Evocati likes it or don't like it, and then change it or get rid of it, basically. And it was just like, whoa, guys.
That's
not
what we want to hear.
No. We want them there fixing bugs. We don't want 1,000 people or so telling the rest of the community if we can try something or not. To me, that was that I felt
there was one redeeming thing though, because
ahead.
on Reverse the Verse, they were talking about we're gonna have this go to Evocati and they're gonna test it, then we're gonna have this go to the test server and then they can test it, then it's gonna go to the live server and then everybody can test it.
Yeah, those two seem contradiction of one another.
Yeah, so the thing I'm
mixed
wondering,
messages maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing. I'm wondering if it's just like a phrase that is just, it comes to mind like, oh, okay, well, the Evocati guys, they'll test it and they'll tell us what they think, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a phrase to them.
Yeah.
Where to everybody else who's on the outside looking in, they don't know what that phrase means and they take it as something else.
That's just true, and that's why I said it's one of those things that because of those two statements, though you do have to admit to some degree that it's because two of those statements were made by Chris Roberts, and one of them was made by a dev on Reverse the Verse. you imagine the one with Chris Roberts would carry more weight, and that's why
Yeah.
that's where the concern came to me, because my ears perked up on that, because we just talked about the previous, and there was some comments in the video like, hey, Evo Cody doesn't do that and whatnot. And I said, yeah, that's fine. I mean, if I
Well,
misunderstand,
according to Chris Roberts, I mean, that's what they do, unless he misspoke.
unless he misspoke, and
That is a chance. But...
and once again, so this isn't to insult anyone here. Listen, it's on Evo Cody or whatnot. I appreciate what you guys do, and I wish I could be part of it. I ever try to report as many bugs as possible, but it never seems to be enough. But hey, whatever, that's fine. You got more time, and you understand the process. That's great, and I appreciate the work you put in, because I know playing a game that crashes every 30 seconds can't be fun.
It'd be awful. I've had games like that where, I mean, you've heard me on TeamSpeak when I have a game that's having problems, and you're sitting there like,
oh yeah,
plays great here, and I'm like, dude, it's not working.
The language is real.
Oh yeah, I get real vocal about it.
Oh yeah, the language is really real. It's not something you ever hear on a BlastCast. Trust me on that, because it would just be one long beep.
I dial myself back a little bit.
A little bit, sometimes. Depends how furious you are.
Yeah, I mean, if you bring up like the fucking Hornet rage, no, don't put it in. Every time I mention the Hornet, you're just gonna be like, the Hornet report, and I did it myself now. Son of a bitch.
Yes.
I mean, I like the old model better.
Like Dragon. Oh, I had to finish it.
No. I like the old model better. I mean, if you're underneath the Ghost and you're looking at it, it looks pretty good. I think it's the Super Hornet that's just disgusting. I think it's worse than the Super Hornet, and every time we fly, it's like, this ship is ugly, but it's really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll just have to see how that comes across. This whole thing with Evo Cody and whatnot. As I said, we do appreciate your work, guys. If you're out there doing it, thank you. And I just hope that we get our hands on this very soon, because I'm really excited to play it. So anyway, I think that's about everything for this week. And as always, leave comments down below. And you're always welcome to ask questions, and we'll do our best to come back and answer. We haven't had any requests this week, but when we do, we'll be sure to fulfill those as best as possible. So anyway, guys, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Greetings, everyone. This week on our Extracast, Lightning Dragon and I want to discuss Fractured Space. It's free to play on Steam, so Lightning Dragon and I are going to give you our quick impressions of the gameplay and what we feel about the game overall. Let's get to it.